But relationships are very important. And as we develop those relationships and as we grow spiritually, we magnetize those people in our enlightenment and to help free them. So it's a very important, the whole concept of relationships. Who were her disciples? Were they at Mount Washington with Yogananda? Well, they could have been, or they could have been on some other level, on some other plane. Yogananda is our supreme guru, but there are those who, Yogananda said, would have disciples. Kriyananda, Swami Kriyananda, Roy Eugene Davis. There's many disciples who were with Yogananda who said they will go on and become teachers. And there's many. I'm in the process of writing a book about this. I was talking with some SRF devotees in Rhode Island. We were there on yesterday for the Sunday gathering. And this lady came up to me and said, you need to write a book. And I realized there's a real need within the movement of self-realization to understand this concept of discipleship and the grace that comes through the guru, but the guru uses instruments. Like when Swami Kriyananda came to Mount Washington, he was here in New York City. This was his town. His father worked at Rockefeller Center. His godfather was one of the executives at Esso Oil. And he read Autobiography of a Yogi, and he took the first bus across the country. Hi, what is your name?
My name is Tyler.
Tyler, namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah, welcome. We're just starting here with a little teaser.
Great.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch this out for the harmonium, so
Oh.
that'll make one more
Somebody-
sense.
Oh, okay, someone can use that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This is my
Yeah.
headstand.
I love this headstand.
Yeah.
That's a great headstand.
Yeah.
Releases all tension in the neck.
So I'll sit here.
Anyway,
Are you okay with the floor? Okay.
when he arrived in Los Angeles after taking the first bus after reading Autobiography of a Yogi, took the first bus across the country, and his father and mother were in Egypt, and they were developing the oil fields in Egypt at the time. He was a geologist, his father, and they lived in Scarsdale and so forth. But when he arrived and he met Yogananda at the Hollywood SRF church, his first words that came out of his mouth when he met Yogananda was, "I want to be your disciple." And Yogananda was constantly praying, looking up at the spiritual eye, and he said, "Well, you have good karma. I'm going to accept you right now as a part of the SRF monastery, part of the order, monastic order." Hi, what is your name?
Jessica.
Hi, welcome Jessica, namaste. Yeah.
Alex.
Alex, pleased to meet you, come on in. There's pillows on the floor, there's another space here on the couch. If you can squeeze over a little bit, sweetheart, you can move the bag so someone else can see it. Within 6 months of him joining the monastery, Yogananda has him initiate one of his disciples into Kriya Yoga. So Kriyananda is asked to be a channel for the Guru in this instance. And he not only initiated people after 6 months of taking Kriya Yoga initiation himself, but he also made him in charge of the monastery, the men's parts, the monks. And so there's this wonderful picture that I have of the monks. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I put it on my Facebook site. By the way, my name is Robert Smith on Facebook, and everything that I put up is all about finding your journey, helpful hints on attaining your enlightenment. and based on Yogananda's teaching. So I put a lot of things of Master up, but also the scientist who's here at New York University, I forget his name, Kukutsu, what was his name?
Is it Kaku?
Yeah.
Emoto.
He put up an article about God can be proved scientifically that I just put up on my site. But there's this beautiful picture, let's see if I can find it real quick, of Kriyananda walking in with the monks, and he's been garlanded by his brothers, and there were a lot of people that he was very, very close with that he brought into the self-realization monastery. But maybe you can find it here. It's yeah.
And just so you know, like Ram, lived in Ananda Village since 1970.
I came to Ananda when I was 24 years old, and now I'm 63. It's 40 years this year.
Yeah.
And when this lady said, you should be writing a book about these things, I realized that that God was speaking. So I started last night writing a few pages, and it's coming together. So we'll see how it all manifests. Amazing Grace, past and present disciples of Paramahansa Yogananda. And it should be very interesting because so many people, and these devotees in Rhode Island, they didn't know anything about Kamala Silva, the first woman minister of self-realization. In 1925, her and her mother were at Mount Washington when Yogananda bought it. And they moved in to the hotel, got their rooms in the hotel. And she had amazing experiences in her book, The Flawless Mirror. Ananda Publications, the Crystal Clarity Publishers, publishes that book. It's fantastic. She was a very deep soul. She founded the Self-Realization Church in Richmond, California, Berkeley and Richmond. She was the minister in Northern California and initiated, hundreds and hundreds of people. In her later years, she retired and actually moved for about 3 years at the Ananda Village. And so, since this movie, The Awake, how many of you have seen The Awake? I'm sure everyone has seen Awake. No?
No.
Check it out on Netflix. I mean, check it out tonight on Netflix. I brought a copy, but we're going out to see the fireworks tonight. But that movie has created a bridge. I wrote Mrinalini Mata, the president of SRF and the board of directors, and said to them, I thank you, because you've created a bridge of having Kriyananda in this film. For years, Kriyananda has been, trying to create this bridge with SRF. It took after his passing before this bridge has been created. I mean, the fact that they kept him in the film, and there was a petition that circulated at the convocation in Los Angeles when it was released in, I think it was 2014. It was a petition to take Kriyananda out of the film. The devotees were in an uproar because Kriyananda is like Judas, it's been going on for 30 years that this is the anti-Yogananda, antichrist, type thing. Just madness. But Yogananda said when Mrinalini takes the presidency, the work, what she will do for this work, that was his words. Prophetically seeing that she would create a positive change, as opposed to other instances. We had a lawsuit against SRF. They sued Ananda for 12 years, and the judge, he was saying, it seems like you're trying to put these people out of business. And we have the original autobiography of a yogi, some people say on Facebook, well, the judge didn't give Ananda the original autobiography. Well, he did. So we published that, the original autobiography of a yogi. And, but, you know, I really feel like the wounds are being healed on some level with this Awake film. Because Swamiji has a feature role. Very short, 30 seconds. Yes, I was there when Paramahansa Yogananda left his body. But in the commemorative book that you can get in the boutique, I believe there's a boutique here at the center around the corner. The commemorative book, they give Priyananda's picture at the Biltmore Hotel. They give his testimonial there. In addition, the links to Ananda Sangha. It's incredible. But it was a very, very brutal 12 years. SRF spent $40 million to try to destroy Ananda, and Ananda spent $12 million to preserve its right as disciples. And today, this book, God Alone, July the 4th, 1869, this saint from past lives who you can read her books as Teresa of Avila. Yogananda said she came to him for liberation, for final liberation. And so this is a book of her letters to disciples. I'll read from that later on today. But I thought we'd start off with a prayer, a chant, and if you have questions, you know, I'd be happy to share with you my experiences on the path and whatever I can do to give you a shot in the arm spiritually. I'll help to do that tonight. So let's begin with an invocation. This is from the Vedas. It's called the Brahmanandam, the hymn to Brahma. And it's in the Cosmic Chant book. It's very rarely sung in Sanskrit. But we'll do that, and in Sanskrit, and do another verse from the Upanishad. Brahmanandam. Repeat after me. Brahmanandam. Parama Sukadam. Together. Translation of what we just sang from Whispers from Eternity, the original version. Bearing the bliss of Brahma, happiness supreme, wearing the image of wisdom, beyond the dispute of quality, free as the soaring sky. Happening
without seeing thee I know. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and
Do this call response. This is a chant dedicated to Yogananda by Swami Kriyananda. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Repeat.
Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light.
Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Let's meditate. It's you must never lose courage. Divine Mother sent me to pilot you out of the clouds of your mind. Everybody's difficulty is different, and he or she has to win that test of karma and Divine Mother. Overcome all by constant inward calling on God and utmost devotion in words, thought, action, and obedience to Guru. Your troubles I do not mind. I will never give up my job about you. It is better to conquer evil and not go on living with it forever. Never for a moment identify yourself with momentary flashes of error. Have no fear, even when I am gone, no longer visible to your eyes. You will never be alone. I may not scold you then, but I shall ever be with you, and through Divine Mother's guard you and guard you from all harm, and will constantly whisper to you guidance through your loving self. So do not make life discouraged and tired, but ever interested in doing for Divine Mother, no matter what, if wars, sickness, and death dance around you. That is the secret of victory over delusion and all troubles. Be cut to pieces, but never give up. Be a divine leech. Suck at the blood of wisdom, even though torn to bits. A smooth life is not a victorious one, and I will give you lots of my good karma, so you will get through. I will not only forgive you, but ever lift you up, no matter how many times you fall. Keep the unceasingly trying to conquer that not only I invisibly help you, but visibly through many here. Divine Mother will help you to win through your own efforts and the blessings of the great gurus. I am not building a mansion for you or giving you riches that will perish, but I am making an imperishable home with all riches for you in my Divine Mother's mansion. With unceasing blessings, Paramahansa Yogananda. Today is a wonderful day. Hello.
Hello.
What is your name?
Amla.
Amla. Welcome. Namaste.
Namaste. This is my friend Sumitra.
Sumitra.
She's from Taiwan.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
And this is my partner Steve.
Steve, welcome. My name is Ram. This is my wife, Dikshini.
Nice to meet you.
We're from Ananda, LA. Actually, over 40 years ago, I started on this path of self-realization. Autobiography of a Yogi was collecting dust in my family home in LA. And I picked it up over the course of time and looked at the photographs in the book. Besides looking at the photographs, I started reading the Bible quotes, and I began to realize that I had a connection with Yogananda. And so I started taking the SRF lessons in January of 1977 and took some meditation courses at the Hollywood SRF Church with Brother Bhaktananda. He was a direct disciple of Yogananda, and so he was my first teacher. I would go in the morning at 9:30 for the Sunday service at the Hollywood Church, and then drive 10 miles to the Lake Shrine for the 11 o'clock service, where other direct disciples of Yogananda were giving the Sunday service. Brother Triyananda, for those of you who may have known him, or Anandamoy, who initiated me into Kriya Yoga at Mount Washington in 1978. Anyway, I found out later that Yogananda had a Mahasamadhi, or a conscious exit from the body, just 9 months before I was born. It was March 7th, 1952, and I was born on December the 7th, 1952. I sort of felt like he was checking out, and I said, okay, this is the time for me to come down. So I felt like I was conceived on the night of Yogananda's Mahasamadhi. But there's a quote by Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, in his book, Autobiography of a Yogi, that Yogananda gives, and there's undreamed of possibilities when you come to the teachings of yoga. And I must say, a kid growing up in South Central Los Angeles, that it was a very transforming thing when I read that book and started taking the SRF lessons. In junior high school, I studied the country Italy as a geography in my geography class, and I remember studying European history and geography, and I could never, if someone would have told me when I was 13 years old, you're going to be living in Italy in your future, you're going to be touring all over Europe, Africa, Australia, I would have never in my life believed them, because my mind wasn't even in that direction. But when I came to Yogananda's teachings, this whole thing began to unfold, this undreamed of possibility. And Swami Kriyananda, the founder of Ananda Village, he literally, when I left Los Angeles in the spring of '77, and I found myself at the Ananda Village in August of '77. Someone gave me a book by Swamiji, the Yoga Postures for Higher Awareness. And I arrived at the Ananda Village in Nevada City in the Sierra foothills, and I recognized all the various members as my friends, spiritual friends from past lives. I hadn't met Swamiji yet. He was in India taking a time in seclusion. He came back in October, 2 months after I was there, and he was arriving at the Sacramento airport, and it was like he was levitating across the tarmac when he came to greet the people. There was hundreds of people there to greet him, and the news telecasters from the local Sacramento news TV was there. It was just this whole scene. Later, my friend Shivani Lucky, she introduced me to Swamiji on the following Sunday. And he looked into my eyes and he says, "It's wonderful to meet you, Bob." I was a Cal football player. I was middle linebacker. That's my Cal football ring at Berkeley. We were Copac 8 champions in 1975. So I was Big Bob Smith. And so he looked into my eyes and he said, "You have beautiful eyes." You know, there's this expression that the eyes are windows to the soul, and that he looked deep into who I was, and I really appreciated that, because he transformed me. When Kriyananda came to Yogananda, Yogananda would brag, "Look how we've changed Walter." In those days, he was known as Reverend Walter. I was telling a few people earlier about when Swamiji was here in New York City in 1948. He read Autobiography of a Yogi from Double B. Durand bookstory. It was a miracle. It was the first miracle that he had ever experienced in his life, because he went into the store, he saw the book, and he opened it up, and it was dedicated to Luther Burbank, an American saint. And Kriyananda thought, "Oh, that's ridiculous." He said, "There's no saints in America. Everybody's in for the dollar." And he walked out of walked out of the hotel, out of the bookstore, and he was walking down the street, and all of a sudden, he felt this force against his will push him back to the bookstore. And he thought, what is happening to me? I don't want to read that book. And this force literally pushed him into Double D Duran bookstore, and he realized, well, I guess I better buy this. This is really pretty weird that this is happening against my will. So he bought the book and he began to read it, and for 3 days and 3 nights he read Autobiography of a Yogi. He laughed and cried, and he realized that this was his guru. This was the person that someone who could help him in his spiritual journey. And in his book, The Autobiography of a Western Yogi, The Path, Kriyananda, if you've never read that book, I highly recommend it. I posted it on my Facebook site the other day, a link to a free copy online. So you can go to Robert Smith, also my spiritual name is Tyagi Ram, on Facebook, and find that link and go to it. Very fascinating story of how he is born in Romania. His father is a geologist. He goes to these schools in Europe, in Switzerland and England and so forth. When the Second World War starts, the family returns to America, and they end up in Scarsdale, and that's where he goes to Scarsdale High School, and he goes through all the changes that all of us have gone through. You know, he's dating, you know, he's falling in love, you know, but nothing is satisfying. He goes to Brown University for 2 years. He only had, you know, a half semester left to graduate from Brown University, and he left it. He went to the Dock Street Theater down in Charleston, South Carolina, to study playwriting. And when he read Autobiography of a Yogi and met Yogananda, he said, well, maybe I should go back to school. He said, no, that's a waste of time. You're here now. And Yogananda, as I said, put him in charge of the monks when he had only 6 months there, and told him he should initiate others in his name, Yogananda's name, into Kriya Yoga. So it was extraordinary when he came. I met a former SRF nun. Her name is, I forget it right now, I won't say it, but she's passed away. Janice Marino. She was a former nun, and she married after she left the order. She had a child, and so forth. Well, she told me personally, you know, when Kriyananda was there in Mount Washington, and this, she said, came from Durga Mata. Durga Mata was, if you haven't read the book, The Trilogy of Divine Love, that's another thing that you should read, another book you should read. Again, Ananda, our publishing house, distributes that book, so you can Google or go to the Crystal Clarity Publishers, Trilogy of Divine Love. I said earlier about The Flawless Mirror by Kamala, the first woman minister in Self-Realization Fellowship, first woman Kriya minister. Those are all available through Crystal Clarity. Interesting. This bridge is taking place. Anyway, this lady said Durga Mata told her that there was someone at Mount Washington who was just as advanced as Yogananda's chief disciple, Rajarsi Janakananda. And Rajarsi was the president at the time, in the early 50s, after Yogananda's passing. And this nun said his name was, Durga Mata said that his name is J. Donald Walters, Reverend Walters, Swami Kriyananda. He later took the name Swami Kriyananda. He eventually became the vice president in the order. He was the head monk, the vice president of the Self-Realization Fellowship, and essentially there was a schism. You know, Yogananda would often say, organizations are necessary evils. Why? because there tends to be factions within organizations that want to control things. And one of the main principles that Yogananda said, you know, too many rules kill the spirit. And that's a principle that when Kriyananda left Self-Realization Fellowship in 1962, the summer of 1962, he went on to found the Ananda village just 6 years later. And that was one of the founding principles. Where there is righteousness, where there's dharma, yotta dharma tota jaya. Where there is dharma, right action, there is victory. And so, too many rules kill the spirit. Where there is right action, there is victory. And these are some of the principles that the Ananda movement of self-realization is founded on.
People are more important.
People are more important than things. And so that's a concept that Yogananda instilled in the young Swami Kriyananda, and it's been passed on. When Yogananda was in the body, he actually foresaw changes in his own organization. And he told Dayamata, he said, "Oh, how you will all change this work." And Swamiji always felt that Yogananda was there guiding him through this process of founding Ananda. There was Irene Schulman, her mother is a Hispanic woman who's very devout Catholic. And she was walking on the grounds of Ananda village once, and she saw this man dressed in orange robes and said, "Well, who are you? We have, I haven't seen any Hindus around here. We have Swami Kriyananda who's white, and who are you?" "Well, my name is Yogananda." "Well, I thought you were dead." No, I'm very much alive, and I'm always here." And so, the Yogananda spirit has been the guiding force through his disciple Kriyananda. And this is a concept that we were talking about earlier about in this book I'll read a few passages from Sister Gyanamata's book, God Alone. That Yogananda said of her that she was completely liberated, became a true master, a true person of Christ consciousness. And Kriyananda, who was in the room at the time, said, "Well, if that's the case, she must have had at 7 disciples, because that's the principle." It's sort of like Amway. You got to sign at least 7 people up to get them on the track to liberation before you can find your own liberation. So it's a concept that was known in the organization, but this has sort of, the lessons are the guru. Okay, how can the printed word, the Bible's the Word of God. There's no other Word of God. How can the Bible be the guru, or the lessons be the guru? The writings of Jesus are in the Bible, they're inspirational, but unless you make those teachings a part of your own self and experience that for yourself, nobody can do it except you. And the lessons are wonderful, but to say that the written word of someone is the guru, there's a personal contact. We're here today. You go out, you go to your spouses, your husbands, your wives, your kids. God is teaching all the time. And we're here to learn certain lessons. This is one of the greatest motion pictures that's happening right now. We go to the theater and we love Matt Damon and the Bourne Identity and the series, all the excitement. And I was on set with Matt Damon once. He's a great actor. I'm from Hollywood, so I every once in a while I get a part. And he's very, very humble. He's part of the 2% who actually make it. You know, he started in background and then worked his way into the speaking roles and actually made it in the field. But he has a foundation called the Water Foundation, which supplies fresh water to people in destitute areas that they don't have clean water. He's a wonderful person, and it's very serviceable. It was great being with him on set and just tuning into his vibration. But all of us right now are living in a motion picture. Yogananda would say in that Awake movie, get to the beam. Get to the beam and understand who you are from the source. We are a projection of infinite consciousness here and now. You might think that you're a separate entity from God, but really, that presence is here right now. You can't escape who you are. A beautiful example that this it can be seen, a baby in its mother's womb. You know, nobody sees the baby. Like you have a mammogram, or what is it called?
Ultrasound.
Ultrasound. Yeah, you see the child in there. But right now we're like in the womb of Divine Mother. Yogananda would say God is, as Mother, is closer than the Father aspect, and we want to feel like Divine Mother, Mother Nature, is everywhere in this little puppy who's such a sweetheart. Yeah, you're such a sweetheart. But God is manifest in everything. One of the interesting things that happened in Yogananda's life when in 1946 there was an event in Roswell, New Mexico, and this UFO crash landed there, and it came out in the newspapers that this event happened, and they found these beings, and the artifacts from the damage from the spaceships and so forth. Came out in the newspaper, and then the next day, oh, you know, we made a mistake. It was actually a weather balloon. Boy, stupid of us. Disregard that the previous day article. It was like you know, like out of the Wizard of Oz or something. Don't look at that man behind the curtain. Yogananda's statement to the Roswell incident was, tell the press that the government, the secret government, is trying to cover it up and prevent the people from knowing. This is something that needs to come out to the general populace, because we need to understand that this isn't the only planet to be born on. Interesting concept. This isn't the only planet to be born on. You think you know what's going on with all the different gadgets and things that technology is bringing us. We're in this period of energy, or Dwapara Yuga. Someone said to Yogananda, well, I heard that there's a group of ascended masters living in Mount Shasta. One of the jobs I do is I'm a salesman. I travel throughout the state of California, so I get up to Mount Shasta quite often. And my last trip at Mount Shasta, one of my store people, actually, her daughter found one of the secret portals to this underground city. She sent this to me. I put it up on my Facebook site. But Yogananda's response to that, there's no ascended masters at Mount Shasta. There's just a civilization of extraterrestrials that live up there in the mountain, about 100 miles underneath. End of statement. So he said these things openly in the ashram, but they never got published in the lessons or for the general public. But we are living in a time where we need to raise our vibrations as human beings. And that's why we meditate. We feel this current of energy moving in our spine, and we begin to be still, and the presence of that mighty source who is projecting us is enlivening every cell of our bodies to attain what? Cosmic consciousness. Cosmic consciousness is the knowing in every part of your body that you're now in possession of the kingdom of heaven, that you don't have to pray that it come to you. All you have to do is increase your knowing. Yogananda would pinch his flesh and he would say, if you only knew how to explode the atoms in 1 gram of your flesh, you could light the city of Chicago or New York for a week or more. We have an incredible amount of energy to manifest, not only outwardly in business and in this world, but to attain our birthright as children of God, to become a Christ, to become a Yogananda. And in the process of our awakening, we help other people. It's not a closed door sort of thing. You know, it's only those who are card-carrying members of the fellowship. It's about you loving, embracing everyone as a part of yourself. As it says, as Jesus said, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And so my life has been blessed. I lived with this direct disciple of Yogananda, and I've met many direct disciples. Kamala Silva, who wrote this book, The Flawless Mirror. I remember she was in her elderly years. She couldn't take care of herself. So her husband brought her to the Ananda village and said, can you help? And we brought her in for 3 years, and eventually she went to an assisted living home and then transitioned. But she would sit down with us and meditate with us. It was so beautiful, and she wouldn't meditate. She didn't have to meditate anymore. She was already in a state of cosmic consciousness, and when you read her autobiography, The Flawless Mirror, it's really just thrilling, because it gives you a glimpse of what is in store for you and for us. You know, it's just, she was just marvelous. But she would sit there and watch us all meditate. And this evening we just had this incredible experience of feeling that divine presence. And she would just be watching people smiling. She says, I saw you smiling. That's the presence of God's bliss manifesting. When you allow yourself to smile and to embrace the energy so it consumes you in bliss. The point between the eyebrows is the Kustasta Chaitanya. Yogananda said, this is the Christ center. This is the center that he also called the pineal center. In other words, we are stimulating not only the prefrontal lobes or the center of our intellect, we are stimulating deep inside here at the base of the brain where the pineal gland is situated. The medulla oblongata begins to open and the energy manifests here. When you feel this energy manifesting at your third eye, try to hold it there. During your practice of daily meditation, go to work, go into your activity, but keep your awareness centered here. This is a technique, Yogananda said, that is even better than meditation itself. To keep your awareness centered at the third eye as you go out into the world. And feel like you are relating to everyone's third eye. Instead of looking into their eyes, feel like you are doing a mind meld with them. Dr. Lewis, he was Yogananda's first disciple in America. He lived in Boston up the road. And Yogananda had made an appointment. He had made an appointment with Yogananda to come to meet him for the first time. Yogananda was staying at the YMCA in Boston. So Dr. Lewis, it was New Year's Eve. Dr. Lewis tells his wife, listen, it's Christmas Eve. Yeah, Christmas Eve. I'm going to go out for a little bit. I'll be right back. He didn't tell her he had an appointment with Yogananda. And they had this tradition of decorating the tree on Christmas Eve, and then the kids would go to bed, and they put like most of us, put the gifts underneath the tree. So he went out, he told his wife, I'll be back not too long. He meets Yogananda, and he says, in the Bible it says, if the eye is single, your whole body will be filled with light. What does that mean? Have you seen this eye? Yogananda's response was, yes, I think so. Can you show other people how to see this inner eye? Yes, I think so. Can you show me how to see this inner eye? Yes, I think so. Well, show it to me then. Under one condition, that you will never avoid me ever in your life. It was a very interesting response. And Dr. Lewis said, of course, I'll never avoid you. But he had his heart wasn't pure. He had some indifference toward people of color, and so Yogananda wanted to make sure that he would never avoid it. And Dr. Lewis said, see, okay, well then sit here on this pillow. He put a woolen blanket down on the floor and the pillow, and he said, okay, concentrate your attention at the point between the eyebrows. Yogananda put his head against Dr. Lewis's head, and he projected the inner light that he was at one with into the forehead of Dr. Lewis. And Dr. Lewis went into a state of ecstasy of seeing this light. And for several hours, he lost all track of time and space. And he staggered out, he drove back home, he pulled into the driveway at his house. Sort of ironically, the number in Boston, in Somerville, is 24 Electric Avenue. It's still there. The house is exactly the way it was in the 1920s. We'd been there on pilgrimage and so forth. So he parked the car, came in the back door of the house, and there his wife was with a frying pan. And she was getting ready to come down on him and looked at in his eyes. And she said, oh my goodness, what happened to you? You look like an angel. Yogananda, I met Yogananda today. And he showed me the inner light. Well, Yogananda is just as real today as he was in 1920 at that time with Dr. Lewis. Because once you attain, these images here, we have the picture of Yogananda. These images are just symbols of cosmic consciousness, of omnipresence. And it's just amazing. He said when he left this world, he said, to those who think me near, I will be near. And this promise is something that every one of us has the opportunity to draw on if we put forth the effort to draw him near, to think him near. And that's the reality of who we are today. In many regards, it's better that Yogananda is on the other side in omnipresence because he knows exactly what's going on in everyone's consciousness in any moment at any time. There was a incident when Swami Kriyananda was with Yogananda, and he was telling Yogananda told him, no more moods, Walter, no more moods. And Kriyananda's response was, how do you know I was moody? I know every thought you think. I'm just as much in your body as I'm in everyone's body. And it's mind-boggling on some level, on a certain level.